If you've been reading the headlines lately, you've probably heard one word dominate those captions: tariffs. Let's talk about it. This is going to be a short video, and I just wanted to set the record straight on tariffs because it's been all over the news. The stock market has admittedly been struggling quite a bit, and it seems every single discussion is about how tariffs are impacting the stock market. So, really quickly, let's define what a tariff is. A tariff is a tax that a country gives on imported goods from other countries. For example, there are currently tariffs on steel and aluminum. So any steel we import from Canada, those Canadian importers will be taxed at a 25% rate. Now, the common concern or question around tariffs is what happens to that 25% tax. Well, usually a lot of that tax, maybe some, maybe all, maybe none, gets moved on to the consumer. Now, this really does depend on the elasticity of the product. If it's highly elastic, people will stop paying for it if you increase prices. Then a lot of the tax will be taken by the importer. If it's inelastic, let's say something that everyone needs, eggs, water, insulin, then the cost will be moved to the consumer and the consumer will pay the higher cost. So why is there so much conversation around tariffs? Well, when it comes to economics, trade, and free trade, normally tariffs are looked at as a tax and less free trade. Most economists agree that tariffs and taxes are inflationary, meaning they increase prices overall. If you ask most economists, not all but most, will say tariffs, taxes, anything that increases the prices are normally a bad thing, especially for consumers. So this all started on February 1st when the president stated that he would implement tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico. However, the tariffs were quickly paused on Mexico and Canada when the country leaders agreed to increase border security, stopping the import of fentanyl and stopping illegal immigrants from entering the United States. Most tariffs were paused for 30 days, except China, which started just a few days later on February 4th. On February 10th, the president signed adjustments on tariffs, adding tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. Now, a lot of steel and aluminum is imported from Canada, so Canada would be impacted the most. Many of these tariffs were delayed. However, while Chinese tariffs went into effect in February, more tariffs were increased on March 4th. On March 12th, the tariffs for steel and aluminum went into effect, and in early March, more tariffs that were delayed from Canada and Mexico went into effect. This shot off a tariff war between Canada and the United States as they started to increase tariffs on the United States, while the United States had retaliatory tariffs back to them. Since then, those have slowed down a little bit. Each side has walked back some tariffs. However, there are tariffs currently in place between Mexico, Canada, China, and the United States. Many of those tariffs are paused, especially on automobiles between United States and Mexico and United States and Canada, but most tariffs between China and the United States are in place right now. And that's pretty much where we're at right now. You may have seen a lot of headlines of whether or not President Trump is going to tariff the European Union or other European countries, and this may happen, but right now it's more of a battle. Ultimately, what's the best thing for the economy? Well, most economists agree that free trade is the best thing for the economy. If there are going to be tariffs, we hope that it's just low-level tariffs across the board amongst every country, but we don't want tariffs back and forth like we're having right now between the United States and Canada or the United States and China. Worst case scenario is that there are long-term tariffs between Canada, China, and the United States that really increase inflation. Best case scenario is either very low tariffs, free trade, or if there are tariffs, it does bring jobs back home to the United States. There are arguments on both sides of these, and economists generally agree that less taxes, less tariffs, more free trade is a good thing. However, it is possible that there are positive impacts from tariffs. Generally speaking, we see inflation, we see costs going up when there are tariffs, and that's why we see the negative headlines. Finally, let's discuss the impact of tariffs and the United States stock market. Are tariffs to blame? Well, maybe a little bit. It's hard to say that there's been so much discussion around tariffs going on right now, and the stock market has just been plummeting, and that there's no correlation. Of course, there's some correlation. But what's more important than potential future tariffs or potential future taxes to the stock market, to investors, to businesses, to firms? The answer is revenues. Ultimately, if revenues go up, you will see the stock market go up. The stock market won't just keep dropping because of scares of tariffs. Ultimately, if the stock market is dropping because of tariffs, then that means people are afraid revenues will go down because tariffs are going up, therefore increasing prices. The law of demand goes into effect, bringing down sales. That's what people are afraid of. They're not afraid of tariffs, they're afraid of revenues going down. So we'll have to wait and see, will revenues go down? Will they go up? It's hard to say, it's too early. We're in the middle of this tariff war between President Trump and several other countries. We don't know what's going to happen yet. We've seen some negative impacts, we've seen some positive impacts. What we can hope for as Americans is lower prices, lower taxes for us, higher revenues for us, better jobs for us. Will that happen from tariffs? Hard to say. We'll see in a few months from now. You can check out more information on freedomfinances.org or follow us on YouTube, Facebook, or X for more information regarding tariffs, economic policy, but most importantly, we love to talk about personal finances. We love to talk about building a budget, controlling your debt, how to build wealth in a responsible way. So check out freedomfinances.org for a bunch of resources, financial news, and even career news. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more information on economic news and personal finances.